At the board today, we do have TJ Adams, Dr. Melissa King that are attending via Zoom, and there may be another one that pops in here shortly. With that said, Ms. Jackson, you mind opening this up?
Good morning, everyone. If you will, please bow your head in prayer.
Most gracious Father, we come today asking you to help guide us in the right direction, knowing what needs to be done, has to be done, and will be done. Father, we thank you for another beautiful day all across this globe. Protect those who are not infected or have COVID. Protect those who do and will get better, we pray. Father God, all I can do is just ask for your mercy and mercy for everyone on this planet. In Jesus' name I do pray, amen.
We're going to move something up on the agenda as far as we have 3 new members today to be sworn in. We'll go ahead and do that at the top, and that way they can participate and vote and everything else in the meeting. So, which order y'all want to go in? Maybe first.
Yes, ma'am.
I state your name.
I, Lacey Gentry,
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully support
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully support
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified from holding the office of
that I am not disqualified from holding the office of
member of the Mississippi Board of Nursing,
member of the Mississippi Board of Nursing,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
State your name.
I, Jane Klein,
Solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified from holding the office of
that I am not disqualified from the office of
member of the Mississippi Board of Nursing,
member of the Mississippi Board of Nursing,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
and I will faithfully
Discharge.
discharge the duties of the office that I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. All right. I state your name.
I, Jeremy Cummins,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified from holding the office of
and I am not disqualified for holding the office of
member of the Mississippi Board of Nursing,
member of the Mississippi Board of Nursing,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
from which I am about to enter.
from which I'm about to enter.
So help me God. Or make it, okay. So we'll add that we have Ms. Laura Moore. Have a motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion, Ms. Nancy Norris Johnson, second, Ms. Jackson, all in favor? Motion. Open forum. Any members of the public would like to speak?
I'm Melissa Temple, Director of Nurse Education
And I just wanted to provide you with a brief. Our accreditation are available on the website. Been updated since March. There are some accreditation site visits coming up. One visit is in the fall. In the spring.
Sorry. In the spring, there are 4 visits that will be for Mississippi College, University of Mississippi Medical Center, University of Southern Mississippi, and William Carey University. These will start in February with the last visit ending in April. The annual report for Mississippi nursing degree programs is now available. It's no longer in a printed form, so that 2020 annual report is available on the website, and that link is included on that summary that you have. So it'll have a lot more of that detailed information. I think Ms. Johnson was saying that there were some questions about enrollment and so forth. So that'll have a lot more detailed information in it compared to what I'm going to give you briefly now. There are 23 schools of nursing in the state with 40 degree programs. We have multiple entry options, 17 associate degree programs, 8 baccalaureate degree programs, and 6 master's degree programs right now. We have 8 doctoral programs. Types of institutions where we have these registered nursing programs, the 23 are 5 public universities, 3 private universities, colleges, and 15 community colleges. As far as admissions, enrollment, and graduation, admissions in 2019-2020 academic year were 4,090 compared to 3,958 in the 2018-2019 academic year. So that's a difference of about 132. But overall admissions have increased by 4.3% over the last 5 years. Increase in associate degree has been 2.4%, baccalaureate's 19.2%, and doctoral at 3.8%. As far as enrollment goes, in the fall of 20, there were 5,937 students enrolled as compared to 5,991 for the previous year, which is just a difference of about 54. Enrollment has slightly increased by 0.6% over the last 5 years. We've seen increases at 7.6% in the baccalaureate programs. Doctoral programs have increased 22.4%, and associate degree programs has remained fairly the same with a slight decrease of 0.4%. Masters have seen a decrease 24.8%. Graduates during the academic 2019-20 year, there were 2,757 graduates compared to 2018-2019 graduate academic year with 2,908 graduates. Nursing graduates have decreased by 5.1% over the last 5 years, but hopefully we'll start seeing that increase some as we say that admissions and enrollment have increased. I would like to share with you too that there have been some changes in leaderships at some of the schools of nursing. Ms. Knight from Jones Junior College retired in June, and Mr. Cummings is the new chair for the associate degree nursing program. Ms. Greer is the new associate vice president for nursing at Southwest Mississippi Community College. Ms. Overton retired from Kahoma Community College, and Dr. Dixon is now the new dean of health sciences there. Y'all have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I know we also have Dr. Dobbs on via Zoom to give some updated information. Dr. Dobbs, you there?
Yeah, good morning. Thank y'all for having me. And I'll go through this relatively quickly because I know you guys probably have a really busy agenda. And I might even just share my, if you want me to, I can share some slides if you want to see them as I go through it. If you allow me to share, but otherwise I'll just talk. So, we're in the midst of our 4th wave, And we're seeing a really marked increase in the number of cases, and it's pretty much all due to the Delta variant. We are now today reporting over 1,300 cases. This is the most number of cases we've seen since early February. So we're already kind of back into the thick of that. We are seeing a massive sort of pressure on our hospital system. We have 13 hospitals as of yesterday that had 0 ICU capacity. I was on a call with hospitals today. One of them told me they had to put 2 patients in a closet just to find somewhere to put them until they could get a regular bed. I mean, it's really getting dire. One of the biggest challenges is that the nursing staff is worse than it was 7 months ago. So the hospitals are less capable to respond than they were back in December. It's going to be a phenomenal challenge. The other thing that we're starting to see is nursing staff is having to go off duty because they're getting COVID. Our immunization rate in our nurses is abysmally low, and anything you can do to kind of help encourage that is great. I would like to go ahead and reassure you that the COVID vaccines do not cause infertility, right? That's one that's really sort of stymied us. Not only is there no evidence of it, growing body of evidence shows that women get pregnant regardless of COVID vaccine at the same rate. So there's just nothing to it. It's just a made up thing that is obviously scary that impedes people going forward. So very, very important topic. Why is Delta causing us so much trouble? It's causing us so much trouble for a few reasons. One of the reasons is it's twice as contagious. If you have natural immunity from previous infection, it's not as protective against Delta as it was against the old strain. There is a slight diminution in the effectiveness of the vaccines. So the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine are about 88% effective compared to 95% effective. So it's not quite as good. We do know that a lot of those breakthrough infections we're seeing are people who are immunocompromised. Not all of them, but a good number of them are. So we are going to work trying to find a mechanism to recommend and provide booster doses for those who are unlikely to have a robust response to the first sequence of vaccines. Now, keep in mind, you're absolutely going to see cases in people who are vaccinated, right? So don't be lulled to the social media sort of conversation that, oh, if it doesn't protect you, then why even get it? To this day, still 95% of all our new cases are unvaccinated. This is an unvaccinated pandemic right now, just to be very clear. 89% of our hospitalizations and 93% of our deaths, unvaccinated, right? We'll continue to update those numbers, but we are not going to want to ignore the vaccinated folks who are at risk just because the unvaccinated folks are at highest risk. Also keep in mind, if you have a medical staff that is, say, the doctors at South Central Hospital are 96% vaccinated, right? So if 2 vaccinated doctors get COVID, it's not that the vaccine didn't work, it's that it would have been 20 if they hadn't been vaccinated, right? So if everybody's vaccinated, 100% of your cases are going to be breakthrough cases. So please don't let the noise distract you guys. Be aware of the noxious nature of what's circulating in social media, and anything you can do to amplify scientific-based messages and help people steer from the bizarre conspiratorial stuff, but even some of the unfounded fears would be greatly appreciated. That's kind of where we are. We're working with the hospitals and chief medical officers to see what we need to do. But I'm going to tell y'all, just know this, the hospital situation is going to be absolutely dire within the next week or 2. It's going to be bad. So please be safe in every way you can, because if the hospitals are overwhelmed, it's not going to be bad just for COVID. It's going to be bad for every sort of medical issue. Now, the medical challenge is not just a COVID issue. I mean, the hospitals were pretty much full going into this. So this is just icing on the cake, and not having the nurses is kind of like a triple threat, right? We got the perfect storm of a lot of hospital business, diminished staff, and then markedly rising case burdens from COVID. You know, today we reported those 1,300 cases. We know that about 8% of COVID cases end up in the hospital. So you can imagine every day we're pouring another 100 new hospitalizations on top of what's there. And if you get COVID and go to the ICU, if you don't die, you're likely going to be there for weeks, if not months. Anyway, that's my cheery assessment for the day. So please be careful as we go forward.
Thank you, Dr. Dobbs. Anybody have any questions?
Dr. Dobbs, this is Mary Stewart, and I always appreciate your candid appraisal of the situation, and certainly appreciate you being here and speaking with us today. you may feel like you're, I don't know, speaking to deaf ears. I probably would feel that way if I was you, but one of those things that we have talked about that I think couples this, or it just magnifies the problem that we're going to see in our workforce is the moral distress that so many of our nurses and of course other healthcare providers have been experiencing for such a long time. And so I know that this board, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel pretty confident we really are committed to doing what we can to get the science-based information out to the licensees, because the trust that the public has in nursing is unmatched. And I think it's a good opportunity, if not the ideal opportunity, for us to capitalize on that. So again, thank you for being here and for the work that you do us on. And mandate, that was one thing I wanted to say. You know, you guys may know the medical center has just implemented a mandatory policy. And as someone said to me, you know, I hate that we're mandating. And I said, well, mandate away, because if we are not going to be responsible with the rights that we have, then we're going to lose them. And so I guess a question I would have for you is, what are you seeing in terms of statewide universities, other hospitals, these mandatory policies? Do you see that that's something that might become more common?
There's a great interest amongst other health systems to look at this. And so expect to see more conversation. I'm gonna have a conversation with other state leaders to make sure that they're aware of what people are thinking. That may be the only way to help us make progress, unfortunately. But it wouldn't be just a health department thing. There'd have to be general consensus, right? We couldn't step out on that on our own. It does make sense. I don't think the colleges are really interested in doing it for a whole host of reasons. It's a little bit different. Healthcare is a unique setting. You know, we're kind of used to doing it. I mean, we already mandate that you get a TB skin test, right? We mandate that you're immune to MMR, hepatitis B, those sorts of things. So there is precedent for it. And there's also legal standing from case law right now around COVID. So I think that's a conversation you're going to see going forward, especially also for the nursing homes where our most vulnerable people are. Almost every single nursing home outbreak we're seeing, we're over 70 residential nurse outbreaks right now, including psychiatric facilities. Almost every single one of them is brought in by an unvaccinated employee, right? I mean, I got to just call it like it is. We've got to protect our vulnerable people. That's part of our charge as healthcare professionals and healthcare leaders. So there will be more conversation about this in the healthcare space.
Any other questions for Dr. Dobbs?
Dr. Dobbs, it's Sandra Culpepper. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was curious as to, because I believe based on the news reports I've been seeing in regards to Johnson & Johnson, and knowing that a lot of our clinics are using Johnson & Johnson vaccine, have we seen any decrease in those wanting to take it based on the Guillain-Barré?
Yeah, you know, we have pretty slack use of Johnson & Johnson anyway. I think in large part because of the blood clot thing. And so, you know, I'll tell you, just to be honest, we recommend the Pfizer or the Moderna as their first line. It's more effective, you know, it's more protective. It is 2 doses, that's the downside, but it's more protective and the side effect profile is better. I mean, the Guillain-Barré and the blood clot issue are very rare. I mean, it's going to be, you know, like 10 per million or something like that. But those are serious side effects, right? And it's not as good a vaccine. So it's hard to be enthusiastic about it. Now, when people say, but I really want it, and I say, okay, buyer beware. You have a choice. Understanding these risks are extremely rare, and understanding that the vaccine's not quite as effective, it is still a pretty reasonable choice for some people, and we will certainly do it. But we do think Pfizer and Moderna are better choices.
Thank you, Dr. Dobbs.
Any other questions? Dr. Dobbs, appreciate it. Thank you for the information.
Hey, thanks y'all for having me. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Still an open forum, any other members of the public? All right. ONW. Let's say, and then we move on. Go ahead.
We have nothing to bring forward from ONW at this time. We are still currently working on the scholarships and plan to present a motion to the board in October for the release of the scholarships. But at this time, I would like to acknowledge Ms. Shan Montgomery will be our interim director until we found someone to replace Mr. Taylor. So at this point, that's all from ONW.
Dr. Burks, practical nursing.
Good morning. I have two items to bring before the board. The first is a proposal request from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, and they would like to offer a medical assistant to PN option under the umbrella of a transition into professional nursing pathway. And also they would like to offer this program as a hybrid option. And with a hybrid option, 24% of their total theory hours will be distance learning, 76% will be the traditional, and their clinical lab simulation will still be 100% traditional education face-to-face. They're proposing to offer this during the evenings and weekends. And their first cohort, they're looking at having 25 students. What varies with this program is that they would like to offer prior learning credit. The medical assistant program curriculum in the state of Mississippi, much of that information is also covered in the practical nursing programs. So they would like to offer, provide 6 hours, and that will cover most of the skills and information that practical nursing students receive in the first semester. And I have a breakdown of that prior learning credit. They also have some general education credits and nursing credits, which totals 54 hours, and the total contact hours is 940, which is equivalent to the traditional practical nursing curriculum. Skills not covered in the medical assistant program, because that was an issue with offering prior learning credit. There are some things that's taught in first semester, and what they propose to do is teach those skills in the second semester in their NUR 1217 and NUR 1223 courses. And those things would be traditional, like Foley insertion, trach care, so forth. Also, with this proposed study, IV therapy will be taught as a separate course. There are various options within the practical nursing curriculum that will allow it to be taught separate, although it's integrated into the curriculum. The way that Mississippi Gulf Coast teaches their IV therapy, they actually start first semester. So with them starting first semester, if the students are receiving that prior learning credit, they would not be able to receive that instruction. So instead of it being integrated, it's going to be taught traditionally as that separate course. Also, with their transcripts, we want to know how would this information look so that when they send them to the boards and they're requesting or getting ready to sit for testing, how would we know that they have completed what they need? So the registrar's office has come up with a title that will say medical assistant licensure certification experience credit. It will show those 6 semester hours that they've received credit for the fundamentals of nursing practice, dosage calculations, and pharmacology. Their faculty is adequate for this program. Currently, they have 34 full-time faculty, 5 adjunct. They're all master prepared. In addition, they're planning to hire a program coordinator, and that person will be responsible for tracking the process of the program admission and completion. All their facilities and clinical sites are appropriate for expansion. They just completed an accreditation visit in April. They have a certified simulation lab, and their classrooms are up to date. They are housed with the latest and the greatest in terms of technology equipment. My recommendation to the board is that Mississippi Gulf Coast be allowed the opportunity to pilot the medical assistant to PN option. While this is a wonderful opportunity to expand, there are some concerns regarding implementing this program, since it varies from the traditional PN program outlined in the statewide curriculum. And those concerns are the proposed program curriculum. It slightly differs from the approved standardized curriculum. They are requesting it to be in a hybrid format, and the traditional practical nursing programs in the state right now are 100% face-to-face. The proposed program also requests that these students be able to utilize prior learning credit, and this is not an option in the traditional program. And also their plan of study will be slightly revised to include teaching those skills in second and third, which are currently taught in the first semester. In addition, if they are permitted to expand as a pilot program, I recommend that they adhere and be required to adhere to the current standards of practice, provide Mississippi Board of Nursing with an outcome report, and this will be done 6 months after the first cohorts graduate, and this information will be used to reassess the pilot status. And in addition to utilizing the standardized course objectives, revise those objectives so that they can reflect the inclusion of first semester skills in NUR 1217 and NUR 1223. The second proposal is from Northwest Mississippi Community College, and they propose or would like to offer a part-time day program on the DeSoto campus on the odd academic fall semesters. Currently, the DeSoto campus, they have a full-time day program. That program accepts 30 students. Their part-time evening weekend program accepts close to 15 students on the even academic fall semesters. They're looking at this new market because the students have identified since COVID a need for a daytime option. And the number one rationale is childcare. The part-time option, a day option, this will allow a slower pace and it will also meet their needs for childcare opportunities. There is a need in the community. In the fall of last year, they had 600 applicants to apply to their program. 50 students met the admission criteria. However, they only had 30 seats available. Also, through their advisory council and clinical partnerships, they have voiced the concern regarding additional options. There was a projected population growth and healthcare study done, and they're showing that there is a need in the South Haven, Olive Branch, Hernando area. Multiple nursing homes have also indicated interest in this. Their physical facilities are available. They do have a lab, the classrooms, clinical facilities are available also for this proposed offering. They do have a request to teach body structure and fundamental together in the fall. And this, because right now they teach body structure by itself, but it causes other semesters to have a higher load. And so by doing this, its goal is to increase their student success. And it also takes that load off some of their other semesters where it's very full because their curriculum goes from simple to complex. The recommendation is they be allowed to implement a part-time program during the day. And the rationale is they currently have a nighttime part-time program. So this program will basically mirror what they currently have. There is support in place on the campus for student success, and student success is always important. Their applicant pool was 600 applicants in the fall. And then DeSoto, their NCLEX test rate, pass rate is 92%, and overall Northwest pass rate is 86%. Additional recommendations would also include them completing a status report prior to the start of the fourth semester. The part-time program is a 5-semester course. Also, they would need to be continue to monitor them as outlined in the standards, provide remediation for those at-risk students because part-time students tend to be at a higher risk of not being successful, review and revise their student success plan as needed, and also complete the annual report required by the Mississippi Board of Nursing to include that new option. In addition to those two proposals, I also submitted a table and it shows the total enrollment data for the practical nursing programs. There's 15 total programs in the state of Mississippi. And as you can see, it gives you an idea of what the enrollment has been since the fall of 2019 until the spring of 2021 for each of the schools. The second graph will show you the graduation data. Typically, the programs, some of the programs, they have a December graduation. Others are in the process right now of having a summer graduation. So where you see pending is because many of them are either have graduated students this week, or they will be graduated students next week. But as you can see, some areas, there has been a change or a drop in their enrollment. Some of that was caused due to where they may have accepted 5 or 10 less students, was due to those restrictions in terms of the social distancing that occurred. But going forward, many of them are open fully, and they do not see that as being a problem in the future. Are there any questions?
Before we get into that, let's do something, because I think the second one, the one about doing the part-time, pretty nice. To have a motion that we go ahead and approve Northwest Mississippi Community College to offer a part-time day program on the DeSoto campus. Motion, Dr. Stewart, second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Clem, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The first one, I just had a couple of questions about. I've got to plead some ignorance here. I'm not 100% up on the educational requirements of MAs versus CNAs. I've always kind of told they were similar in some of it. So my question is this program been done anywhere else in the United States, or is this an initial pilot program to bridge this MA to LPN?
Some places are looking at it now, medical assistant. In the state of Mississippi, the medical assistant program, it varies slightly from the CNA program because they now have a standardized curriculum, and that course is taught over the course of 2 years. I do have a breakdown of all the things that are covered. So in terms of the extensiveness of the program, it is a little bit more extent than the CNA program. It do aligns a little bit more with the practical nursing program. However, there are some specific skills, and those specific skills in terms of trach care and Foley, those are 2 of the major ones in IV therapy that is not covered. They do teach pharmacology, and their pharmacology is very detailed. I went to the Mississippi Community College Board, requested a copy, and they did send me a copy of their curriculum. And I also looked at those objectives. So what occurred was a crosswalk was done. And the crosswalk was done looking at what is required in the practical nursing program, start from the first class, which depends on what they're teaching, if it's an umbrella course or the single course, and did a comparison with the medical assistant program. And so those gaps were basically in terms of that IV therapy and also in some of those skills. One of the things that Mississippi Gulf Coast and body structure and the practical nursing programs is very similar to A&P. Mississippi Gulf Coast, when their students enter their program is a little bit different. They were very innovative 10 years ago. So when their students enter initially, traditionally, they're not assigned practical nursing or associate degree nursing status. They're all assigned as nursing students. So with that, anyone that enters their program, they must have certain prerequisites. So they're getting A&P before they start their programs, which would offset that body structure that they need in the practical nursing program. So they have that information as well. And looking at those systems, the way that they're taught, they're going to get that again, because some of it is repetitive. So some of that information is going to be covered again in NUR 1217, as well as NUR 1223.
So basically you're saying that as far as the MA versus CNA, that there is a large gap in difference.
Yes, sir. It's a huge gap in difference.
Dr. Burks, thank you as always for your thoroughness and report. I have just a couple of questions, and I honestly have some concerns about the prior credit for the medical assistant. So who oversees, whereas the State Department of Health oversees CNA CNA programs or CNAs, who oversees medical assistant programs, like the curriculum, the quality,
That falls on the community college board.
okay. So, and I, certainly defer, I know you've done, know you've done your homework. My concern is just prior experience in education where people are getting credit for certifications or other programs that are not housed under the same accreditation or quality assurance body. And so it may not be an issue with Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. However, it may be an issue as we go down the road for someone else who wants to have an accelerated track. So I do have some reservations about that component because I don't know that we can really see the oversight of the medical assistant program curriculum quality in the same way.
Dr. Burks and Sandra too. I know that not all of them, as far as medical assistants, I know they can have certification under the boards of medical licensure. So I guess my question to that is this: how are they going to delineate between whether they're certified or not? Because I know that the programs vary in length. So to clarify, you're saying that they're switching over to a 2-year course for MAs versus what they had done in the past?
Yes. And that was my question to them, was how would you know this information of them being certified? And that's when the registrar's office came in, because what they're doing, one of their big things is they know what Mississippi requires through the community college board. And because now they do have that standardized curriculum through the community college board, where they have that vetted process. They review those curriculums, they come together and evaluate that. They're looking at only offering that to individuals in Mississippi. Just one of my questions was, if you have a person from out of the state or not in the state that is wanting or interested in this program, how do you know that their education is equivalent? And that was the part that was shared with me, that this is focusing on those individuals who have completed programs in Mississippi, because with that, they can pull that curriculum and see this is what they were required to do. These are the standards that they adhered to while they were in that medical assistant program.
I guess the only other concern I have, Dr. Burks, and it kind of piggybacks with Dr. Stewart's, because we know that they can practice without being certified. And when that happens, there's no regulation there. And so at least when we're looking at a certified nurse aide, which granted, there's a big difference in education, at least they're monitored. So if something occurs out there when they're not certified, we'd have no idea, and neither would that school. And so I guess for me, that's a greater concern.
Okay.
I've got a question. Dr. Burke, this is Jeremy Cummins. Will the candidates that apply for this program be required to be certified?
Yes.
And just one more thing, the only, in response to what you said, Mr. Cummins, the only issue I see with that is those that are not currently certified. And for instance, because they're not being monitored right now, they decide they want to go get that LPN. Suddenly they've decided whether they've made mistakes before or not, they're going to go get that certification and you still have no idea what was going on.
Right.
So that's my concern.
Do they have to is there criteria for them to become certified? Is there background checks? Is there reference checks before they become certified? I'm like Alton, I'm not familiar with this program.
So with the MA, I don't know what the policies are for each individual college or proprietary, because it does not have to be necessarily a college such as Northwest that does it, or Gulf Coast. It can be anyone that owns a proprietary. And so when you look at it from that perspective, we may not know whether there was a background check done because most of the MAs are going to work in a clinical setting or clinic. And so where you see them in the clinic assisting a physician or nurse practitioner, they're not going to have the same type of training as even a nurse aide. And so I guess that's kind of where I'll follow up with that. Would I be correct, Dr. Burks?
Yes.
Any board members on the phone have a question or comment about it? All right. It's it's a good tool when you look at it on the surface for being able to bridge the gap and get more into the workforce. I want to step carefully. So when you say it's a pilot program, they're just going to do it one time and then come back with the data?
Yes, sir. Instead of giving them permission to do this as a permanent program, do it as a pilot, because it varies so much from traditionally what is required or expected in the practical nursing program.
So will they adhere? Because I noticed in what you gave us that there was recommendations from you. Is that
Yes,
what
ma'am.
we're going to suggest that they follow by,
Yes,
or that we will require them to follow by?
they will be required to follow.
Thank you.
So with that being said, have a motion to approve the pilot program with included recommendations from Dr. Burke. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, you don't have?
They don't have it. That came from us.
Oh, so let me read. The recommendations may be allowed the opportunity to pilot the MA-PM program. While the MA-PM program is a wonderful opportunity to expand the nursing workforce, there are some concerns regarding fully implementing the program since it varies from the traditional PM program outlined in the statewide curriculum. The areas of concern, the proposed program curriculum slightly differs from the approved standardized curriculum. Secondly, the request includes hybrid format, traditional PM programs, 100% face-to-face. Third, the proposed program request includes allowing individuals to utilize prior learning credit, which is not an option with traditional PM. The PM plan of study will be slightly revised to include teaching skills in second, third semester. Currently, all skills except IV therapy is taught in the first semester. And if permitted, would also recommend the following: that the program will be required to adhere to current standards of practical nursing accreditation. Board of Nursing will be provided with an outcome status report. And then revised standards, those course objectives to reflect conclusion of the first semester. I would judge by the quietness when asked for a motion, there's still some concern. Is this something we need to table and a little bit further review and then come back? Thank you. All right. So thank you, Dr. Burke. We will table this and do a little review of it so that we can make sure that when it is implemented, it's implemented. Your recommendations, anything else, any concerns, somebody?
All right, thank you.
All right. This meeting minutes from June 18th, 2020. Have a motion to accept those minutes into the record.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion from Ms. Neshoba Johnson and seconded by Ms. Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Three settlement proposal minutes, accept June 2021 minutes into the record. Have a motion for that? Motion. We'll say motion, Ms. Jackson, second, Ms. Nestor. Board hearing panel minutes from April 2021. Have a motion to accept those into the record. Have a motion, Ms. National Johnson, second, Ms. Jackson, all in favor. And then have a motion, we waive reading of names on motion.
Let's get some from the side.
Second.
We'll have some more. Future meetings, our next meeting is scheduled for October 5th, 2021. For those of you new, usually the reason for this we usually have them every other month except June and July are back to back and skip because in August is normally a travel time going to National Council. Well, since COVID, everything's been virtual, but it's still stayed the same. But we will have the meeting next October 5th. Disciplinary hearing will be the 6th and 7th. And then the business meeting October 8th. There is a change in the panel. It'll be Dr. Stewart. Ms. Nancy North Johnson will be replacing Ms. Shirley Jackson and Sandra Culpepper. And we still need a volunteer of an RN. We'll get with that, see if anybody calendar permits, don't sit on the panel in October. We usually try and always have 2 RNs, 2 LPNs to make sure that whoever is being heard has peer support that's hearing it. Also, the 4th is there as an alternate in case somebody knows somebody that they. Right. Legislation.
Good morning. Mr. President, board members, I want to congratulate the 3 new board members. I'm Trey Bobbinger. I'm the lobbyist for the board. Look forward to working with each of you. I happen to know Ms. Clanton's husband, but I hope she doesn't hold that against me. But no, anytime you need me, I'm available by cell phone, email, as the other board members and Ms. Johnson know. So welcome to the board. I'm going to try and be very brief. I wanted to bring up the first issue. Medical marijuana issue is still out there. It's very important. It's taken a lot of attention right now, obviously, whether it's social media at the state capitol, our state officials. I will tell you this week, past Wednesday, Senator Hobb Bryan held a 3rd hearing. He said that's probably going to be his final formal hearing, but he feels like they've gathered a lot of good input information from other states, from experts here. So I think that's going to help them in drafting a bill. The lieutenant governor himself recently reached out to this agency and spoke directly to Ms. Johnson. We appreciated him reaching out. He had some questions, some general, and I would say, Phyllis, some more technical questions that Ms. Johnson discussed with him and answered for him in his thought process in formulating this medical marijuana legislation, which, once it's on the books, I mean, it could be amended later, but it's still going to be something everyone's going to have to abide by. So we appreciate that opportunity. As a result, Ms. Johnson had the idea, and I think Ms. Montgomery and I discussed it, developing talking points from this agency on some key elements that we think would be important in that legislation. So those should be out, correct, Phyllis, very soon. So I think that's a good idea and something that should also be helpful to the board members. Just for way of background, Senator Kevin Blackwell from DeSoto County, Mississippi. It's a good man. He's actually, I think, nurse prac also, I think, or has some medical background. But he is helping spearhead the bill, the drafting of the bill on the Senate side. Representative Lee Yancey of Rankin County is working on gathering information for the House side. So what we're hoping, I believe we will have a draft within the next couple of weeks. A rough draft of the new proposed legislation. This would be presented in January. Assuming they don't agree, if the House and Senate can agree, Governor Reeves has committed to call a special session of the legislature to take it up, which I think is reasonable, makes sense. But I do think there's a real push for both sides to try to come together and agree on something. Obviously, there's ramifications from a professional standpoint, for the nursing profession, but also as citizens of the state. So it's a very important thing. We've been monitoring it very closely, communicating. I've attended all of those hearings at the Capitol to monitor those things. So we will keep you posted on that. We've all talked a lot about full practice authority for the new board members. You know, just allowing our APRNs to practice fully within their current scope of practice. There's been legislation in the past. It actually passed the House this last session, first time ever. I fully anticipate new legislation coming again in January to basically eliminate the collaboration agreements for fees or with fees. I do want to say that I recently became aware that Ms. Johnson had received a call from the State Medical Association informing her that they had developed a written, drafted, if you will, model contract, I would call it, setting up a collaboration agreement with a standard fee or standardized fee in the contract. There's also some manner in which they would offer a list of physicians for nurse pracs or other APRNs to review, to possibly look at for collaboration purposes. Let me be very clear. Ms. Johnson was informed of this. We were not aware of any drafting or discussions. We were not a part of any discussions or drafting of this. So just wanted you to be clear on that. Ms. Johnson was merely informed of this after the fact. So again, just wanted to clarify that. And, you know, if Ms. Johnson would like to in her presentation, she can certainly add to that. Last thing I'll mention on a lighter note, next week is the famous Neshoba County Fair. I know TJ's watching on here. There's certain members that enjoy the fair. I normally go. Unfortunately, I have a conflict, but just so you know, the speakings of the governor, lieutenant governor, other state and district-wide officials will occur next Wednesday and Thursday. If you've never been to the fair, it's just interesting, you know, to listen. And they've got great corn dogs and junk food there. I shouldn't be saying that here in front of the Board of Nursing, but actually there's some good fair food there, Phyllis. And but seriously, it's good. You see a lot of people. The business community will be represented there with various groups. There will be folks are very hospitable. People will invite you in their cabins to eat with them, even if you don't know them. So I just throw that out. But the political speakings are always interesting. Listen to the governor, lieutenant governor, the speaker. So I just wanted to mention that to the board as well. At this time, Mr. President, that concludes my presentation, unless there are any questions from the board members.
Any questions for Trey on legislation or about what's good to eat fair? All right, thank you, Trey.
Oh, yeah. Also, I wanted to mention on our budget coming up that I assume we have submitted or we're right at submission. I know, and I really want to say this on a personal note, the great work that Shan Montgomery does in putting this budget together. And I sincerely mean that. It is so much work, and I help during the session, but she does all the grinding, and of course, Ms. Johnson and other staff, but Shan really takes the lead on that. And there's a lot to that, putting those numbers together, forecasting, particularly with things like COVID, makes it very difficult to know. But there's been a lot of work put into that. Thank you, Shan. And that budget will be submitted. There's something called the LBO, Legislative Budget Office. They require all state agencies to submit their budgets in advance of the session to be reviewed and studied and recommendations made. So aside from all substantive legislation, we have to be very focused on our budget, which runs and operates the day-to-day activities of the Board of Nursing. So I wanted to make you clear on that as well. If there's no other questions, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. With that said, Dr. Johnson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me take this opportunity to welcome the 3 newest board members to the Board of Nursing. We are indeed elated and happy to have you as part of this illustrious and busy organization. So thank you very much. We look forward to the skill set that you bring, and just jump right in and get your feet wet, and we'll keep you afloat. That's the best I can say on that one, but thank you all. Also, to start this off, I have a couple of things I want to bring to your attention on the updates. First of all, Dr. Michelle Owens may be on the call. I'm not sure. I see her picture up there. And Dr. Michelle Owens received an award from the University of Mississippi Medical Center. And it is a very prestigious award if you know Dr. Helen Barnes. Dr. Helen Barnes, Diversity and Inclusion Award, was awarded to Dr. Michelle Owens, who is a member of our board of directors. And she serves as a professor. There she is at the Department of OBGYN, School of Medicine at University of Mississippi Medical Center. So I want to take this opportunity, although she didn't tell me, I had to find out by a little birdie. So I get upset when my board members don't tell me about things like this. But if you know Dr. Owens, you know how humble she is. And so we can appreciate that. But I'd just like to applaud her if you would join me in this most prestigious award.
Oh, shucks, y'all. Thank you so much, Phyllis. That was really awesome. Yeah, I would not have said that. I was really honored to have been selected for that award. Dr. Barnes has been a phenomenal influence in my life. And so to have been tapped to be honored with an award that bears her name meant everything to me. But, you know, I just appreciate being able to work with such fantastic people. You guys set the bar so high. I feel like I have to go out and win awards or do something just so that I earn my seat at the edge of the table. But thanks so much for everything. And I'm a little embarrassed, so I'm gonna go back to my picture now. But thanks so much for that.
Thank you. And if you don't know Dr. Helen Barnes, she's been a frontier in so many ways in the medical profession. Look her up. You'll be interested to learn a lot of good things about her. So, and additionally, we have one of our own whom I'd like to highlight, Ms. Shan Montgomery, who you all know is my right and my left hand. And Shan has been selected as one of the Mississippi Business Journal's 50 leading business women for 2021. And she will be honored at a luncheon on August the 19th at Old Capitol Inn, along with other honorees for this most deserving award. She is definitely well deserving of this award. So thank you, Shan, for all you do each and every day for the Mississippi Board of Nursing. And thank you for being selected and chosen. I already knew that, but now the state of Mississippi knows that. You're the top 10 for me. So thank you. So if we would give Shan a round of applause. So I have a phenomenal staff. And if you all hadn't realized that, then you know this is a team effort. There is no I in team, and I love it that way. We all work together. So my staff, the staff here at the Board of Nursing, you know, it's a testament to what you all do in your leadership role as the Board of Directors. They are committed, they are dedicated. I can't thank them enough for what they do each and every day. We have over 65,000, approximately 65,000 licensees that we're responsible for, and over 74,000 licenses that we're responsible for because there are duplicate licenses that some of these nurses hold. We take our job very seriously, and our job is to protect the safety of the citizens of the state of Mississippi that receive nursing care. And if you hadn't noticed, nursing was catapulted to the front in March of 2020. It was always at the front, but everybody took notice because who takes care of you if you're sick at the bedside? A nurse. it's a nurse. And so there is a dire shortage. I think we've heard that from Dr. Temple's report. There's a little bit of a shortage there, but there is a shortage. It's been projected for 2 decades now. It's here. And COVID has impacted that tremendously. Burnout, stress, I think someone mentioned the moral, was that Dr. Stewart? We have people leaving nursing. So it's very important that we do all that we can. The Office of Nursing Workforce is working hard to do that, to get young people involved, even people that want a second career in the nursing profession. So I applaud the board of directors for all that you do in working with us to ensure that we have the legislation, working with Trey and the legislative body to ensure that we get what we can to get nurses into the workforce. So that's my little soapbox for today. Additional updates that I want you all to be aware of. We have the annual meeting again coming up August 18th and 19th with NCSBN. You can attend. It is complimentary to members. If you have not registered, please do so. I did resend the NLC registration link prior to coming into the meeting today. That occurs on August the 17th, and you are privy to that as well. So if you have not registered, please register, because I think the deadline is the 29th of July, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure that you go ahead and click on the link and get registered. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me and I'll assist you with that. The other thing is the Board of Nursing Retreat. That has been planned for August 29th through August 31st at the new Sheridan Refuge Center in Flowood. And so you will come in on the 29th. We have 2 full days of intense education on board governance for you, and put it that way. And I think you're going to really, really enjoy. We have 3 dynamic speakers. I won't tell you who they are at this point. The agenda has been planned, but I think you're going to be in for a great surprise, and I think you're going to enjoy it tremendously. I haven't been to the new facility, but I heard it is gorgeous. So I'm a little bit jealous that I hadn't been out there yet. However, Shan and Vanessa have enjoyed it tremendously, maybe too much. So look forward to a great time. If you have not gotten with Vanessa about your accommodations, please do so. Please do so and let her know. Any questions, please direct them to me. You have my email and my contact information, or to Vanessa Gray, okay? And she can accommodate you with that. A couple other things I just wanted to bring to your attention. My report is brief. The Board of Nursing did attend the Mississippi Business Journal Best Places to Work event, because we were selected as one of the best places to work in the state of Mississippi. So again, that's a testament. That's something that the staff does. And then they have this contingent or advisory board that votes on who gets selected. Mississippi Business Journal does. So that's a testament again to the staff and the hard work that they do, and your leadership abilities in directing us in our daily operations. I think those are the high points that I wanted to bring out. We have been busy in practical nursing education. As you can see, Dr. Burks is hard at work all the time. The standards are coming up for review, so we're going to be involved in that because I think 2022, when we have to look at revising those standards. And she's already working on it, has made some great recommendations. She'll be bringing that forth closer to that time and meeting with the respective individuals that need to be involved in that particular process. She did attend some pinning ceremonies at Coahoma Community College and also Colin Community College over the past, since our last board meeting. So we are out there. We like to be visual and we like to attend whenever possible if our schedules will allow, anything that the Board of Nursing is involved in. So with that, I think that's all that I have, but I did want to comment on the legal department. Brett Thompson-May, I think, is on the call, did a phenomenal job. Brett has also been involved in this process with the budget and the strategic plan that Shan and I work on. It is labor intensive, very labor intensive. And this is the time of year that we get a little stressed, to say the least, in that we have to have the strategic plan, the budget, and a lot of things moving forward at one time. So from usually about March to about August, we're in overload mode. So Brett has done a tremendous job, and also the legal department did a tremendous job with our hearings this week. So I want to give them kudos on that, because if you don't know, we had a couple of COVID situations, not directly in the board, but people that were staff members that had traveled that, ended up having some COVID situations. So we had to, at the drop of a dime, change course. And everything that would have been done on site had to be done virtually. Legal did a tremendous job. Within less than 24 hours, we were able to make that happen. And I've been told, and I have observed that the hearings went extremely well, like a fine oil machine. And all of our legal staff was basically on site and did everything virtually. So thank you, Brett, and to the legal staff. And to the other employees here at the board that stepped up. There were non-legal people that stepped up and never missed a beat. So we were able to carry that out. So thank you all again to the staff for the hard work that they do. I do want to reference that Ms. Sandra Culpepper, who is one of our board members, has been reappointed to the National Council State Board of Nursing's item review for NCLEX in the LPN, NGN, next gen. And she served on it last year, the previous 2 years, as a matter of fact. And so she's been reappointed. Additionally, I want to highlight that one of my new employees, Ms. Sharon Russell, who is an RN, has been selected by the NCSBN Board of Directors to serve on the item review subcommittee for the NCLEX RN. So Mississippi always steps up. I highly encourage our board members to participate in those committees at the national level, as well as our staff. So with that being said, I yield.
Questions? And just to kind of give a quick thing, we keep talking about LP and all this. If you weren't familiar, just got to talk to you a little bit. A few years ago, the community college board came and says, would y'all be interested in doing the LPN curriculum and accreditation, everything like that. So they got changed to state law, transitioned over, so we now do the regulations of those. IHL still completely does RN and APR. So that's the only one we have. All right. Budget report.
Hey, I want to give probably a 30-minute budget report.
Already over an hour.
Because Alton is checking his watch here. So no, in your packets, you have slides, and you also have a full budget reports from Shan, who does the hard work. I just get to relish in her glory here and give you the report. So I'll go through that very quickly. The slides that you have. As Ms. Johnson just said, right now really is a busy time. And in terms of budget, there are 3 budget numbers that we're actually looking at, and you have these on page 2. We're looking at our actual expenses from our fiscal year that closed June 30th. We're looking at our estimated expenses for 2022, which of course has already been appropriated. And then we are also just a couple of days away, I think, from submitting that final budget for fiscal year 2023. So on that first slide, you'll see that our actual expenses right now are at 4.4 million and some change for fiscal year 22. The difference there is an increase in salary across the board for our staff of 3%. If you do the numbers, you'll see that it's not a full 3% because those increases will go into effect on January the 1st. So it's actually half of a year that is reflected in those numbers. Now, just so you note, there may be a cap in terms of what salaries can be for state employees. And so if we have a staff person that exceeds that cap, they may not get the full 3%. But from a budgetary perspective, we did include the 3% in hopes that that would be the case. The only person who did not, and this is legislative as well, is our executive director. Is not included in that 3% increase. And then lastly, for fiscal year 23, what we are about to submit, it's an increase of about 2.5%. And this number reflects the full 3% increase for the salary. So for the 12 months, it also includes a $50,000 increase request for the executive director. And it includes the request for a position that we've asked for before and hope we'll get it this time is for a court reporter for the board. So our request, again, is up by about 2.5% at 5.3 million for 23. And we're just, like I said, a couple of days away from getting the submit button. Any questions? I'll be glad to drag it out 28 more minutes.
Have motion to approve the budget. Motion, Ms. Jackson, second. Ms. Johnson, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion. All right, committee reports, executive committee. We do have a couple things. Basically, there is a joint motion to dismiss the appeal of the full board based on someone's going to appeal. They chose not to. They all agreed to. So when you get down to the end, no, we don't have to hang around. Because that was gone. Anyway, have a motion that we accept the dismissal of case number 014073. Motion second. Second was Johnson, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then the surety bond, coming in as a new treasurer, each treasurer has to be bonded. You know, they never really actually touch money, but it still has to be bonded. And I always remind people, bonds do not protect the person, they protect the entity from the person. So if anything turns up missing, the bond makes the entity whole. But have a motion that we approve the bond is 50. The bond amount of 50,000 surety bond for our treasurer.
I make a motion.
Motion, Ms. Johnson, second. Hey, Secretary, all in favor? Motion carries. We've already spoken about the retreat. Encourage everybody to try and make that. And I was talking last night, I think, you know, normally we have this in January and it got pushed back because of COVID and some other things. But looking at it, thinking about it, this is probably a better time of the year because new board members come in July 1. So it kind of fits in with the good programs. That might be something that we make an agenda for next year, calendar to kind of look forward. Compliance committee, any?
I need a motion. I move that the board adopt the compliance committee recommendation to approve 120 calorie days extended for license number P333909 on a final order requirement to complete the board approved nursing refresher course.
Any questions on that? Have a motion, we approve the 120-day extension to meet compliance. Jackson, all in favor?
I have another one. I move that the board adopt the compliance committee recommendation, the following affidavit form will recommend to be accepted for ratification for license R882112.
Have requested a formal recommend for a revocation out of compliance. Any questions on that? All in favor? What? That's that all compliance. Advanced practice had no meeting today because there was nothing to discuss. Practice committee.
We had a meeting and we saw Wesley's new baby, but we have no motion.
Outstanding. With that being said, the other committees, we're going to be redoing this. Would normally have had committees reestablished and repopulated by this meeting, but with new members coming on, we'll kind of talk a little bit, but we'll get some things going. There is one we're doing that's been out here. We're going to continue the finance committee. They'll be chaired by Dr. Stewart. Also on that as the immediate past treasurer, Dr. King, Mr. Jeremy Cummins, Vanessa Gray, and Shan Montgomery. As far as the other ones, we will have the practice committee, which deals with LPN and RN issues, advanced practice, which deals with APRN issues, and compliance, which deals with people wanting to change their orders. And really, that's what it amounts to. From the disciplinary orders that come in, if there's a problem or request, it goes to compliance to look at to see if they're meeting it or if the request is doable or something like that. So that's the standing committees in there. We also have an administrative code ad hoc committee that deals with going in and making adjustments, modifications, exclusions on our administrative code. So we get with y'all as far as, interest, what you're looking for, kind of go from there with committee assignments. With that said, we've already talked about the NCSBM meeting. The delegates for that will be Ms. Sandra Culpepper, Dr. Stewart, alternates, Ms. Shirley Jackson, and Ms. Nancy Johnson. Any other business?
Mr. Chair. I just wanted to bring up that I did receive an email from the OLRC. We're scheduled August 4th at 2:00 p.m. To look at, there are two, I can't remember which two it was, but we're on there at the Phillips Building to present two outstanding regulations that we have that I think are on the emergency rule now, maybe, but to finalize those two, just before I came in. So
Okay.
hot off the press.
All right,
I'll let you know if that changes, but just want to put that out there.
good deal. I would imagine our Con Ed hours
Continuing ed is one of them.
and the monitor practice.
I'm not sure if it's my practice, but I'll double check and let you know.
All right. With that said, any other board business? I don't know who's gonna do it because Jan's not here, but we'll ask for a motion, we adjourn. Motion, Ms. Johnson, second, Ms. Jackson, all in favor.